now would lead to a disorderly liquidation of American auto companies. My economic advisors believe that such a collapse would deal an unacceptably painful blow to hardworking Americans far beyond the auto industry.
All right. That, of course, President Bush earlier today on the wide-ranging economic relevancy, which we're all, if you weren't familiar before, we're becoming more familiar with the role of American auto manufacturing. Of course, many reasons that our next guest has been pushing for the Big Three bailout is just that, all those jobs. Joining us in a first on CNBC interview, Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm. And Governor, what I'd like to do here, if we could, just in the interest of time, is move to your views of where you think this industry is heading and what type of changes you think it needs to go through in order to get where it's going, with the knowledge that what happened today, while good, is a temporary fix. What do you think the best way to proceed with altering the systems of doing business with these companies is?
Well, I think the most important thing to do is to restructure to enable the auto industry to lead us to electric vehicles, plug-in electric hybrid vehicles, which they already were in the middle of doing, by the way, before this financial meltdown occurred. But this allows them to really accelerate their restructuring process, and that's exactly what they are doing. Everyone's going to have to sacrifice, everyone from the CEOs to the folks who are doing the work on the line and the dealers and the suppliers. But I think this has got to be done in partnership with the federal government, like other countries are doing for their auto industry. Other countries recognize the importance of this industry to their national defense and to their energy security. Therefore, they have invested in those industries. They have given them loans, and they have invested in the research and development to take them to the battery that goes into the electric vehicle.
What you mentioned, sacrifices. Abstractly, everyone will agree to that. In practice, no one will want to do it. What three places do you see where you would begin?
Well, I think everybody knows that they've got to cut the number of lines which they are projecting to do. They've got to downsize and streamline. They've got to really consolidate. There's clearly going to have to be some sacrifices relative to salaries and the jobs bank. The UAW has stepped up and said they're willing to do that. And the CEOs, the executive compensation, the perks, all of that is going to have to be done, part of this package. That's what's been included in the proposal that comes from the White House. It's what the CEOs said that they were willing to do. They've got to accelerate that now and demonstrate that they're viable by the end of March.
What is your sense of the state of Michigan? In other words, when you look at Michigan and Michigan's experience through the credit aspect, the housing aspect, and then you look at Michigan's dependency on revenue and jobs from auto manufacturing, you are one of the points in this nation that has truly been ground zero for much of the conversation that has gone on Wall Street. What is the health of your state, your economy, and your prospects going into 2009?
There is no doubt that we have the most challenged economy in the nation because of our concentration of automotive jobs. And that's why we've been really focused on diversifying our state economy. We're hungry. Anybody watching who wants to have a good business case made for you by a state, I encourage you to come to Michigan, go to our Michigan Economic Development website, and we'd make a good business case for you. But the bottom line is, if you don't want to see happen across the country what's happened in Michigan, just this past week, 46,000 Chrysler workers laid off. If you don't want to see the number of mass layoffs that we've had that have been related to the auto industry, whether they're suppliers or anybody in that value chain, then that's why this auto industry loan is so important to help the nation, not just Michigan, but the nation move forward. And I loved what Rick Wagner said today in his press conference. He said that this auto industry is going to help lead the nation out of this economic downturn, and that's what we're looking forward to.
One thing that gets talked about somewhat with this, and I would argue that the automakers are the ultimate sort of convergence of many of our major national issues, being that the credit crisis added to the distress. We know the labor and manufacturing issues, but one of the other biggies is healthcare, which it's very difficult to extricate from a conversation about auto manufacturing. If we accept that corporations are going to have a heck of a time bearing the cost load of American healthcare, is it possible to restructure American auto manufacturing without having a healthcare conversation?
No, I think you have to have a health care conversation, and that's why I'm glad that the president-elect has put that at the top of his agenda as he comes in. Clearly, our industries, not just the auto industry, but industries across the nation, have to bear this burden of health care, unlike the industries in other countries where they provide health care to their citizens. So we have got this uncompetitive disadvantage of having industries here bear that health care. And just quickly on the something you said at the beginning of this question that you just asked me, you said that the meltdown in the financial markets and the credit markets contributed to it. The meltdown in the financial markets actually caused what you are seeing now in the auto industry. It's not just the domestic auto industry that's having the trouble. People can't have access to credit. They can't buy vehicles. They need to loosen that up. I mean, what the heck is that $700 billion for if it's not to put it into the stream of the economy and allow people to buy consumer products, including cars? Yeah.
All right. Listen, Governor, a pleasure to get some time with you and enjoy the balance of the year.
Thanks, Dylan. Appreciate it.